Hey, everybody. Scott Carson here. Hope you're doing well on this another episode of the Podcasters live stream. I'm sure you're going to want to take some notes tonight. I encourage feedback, encourage you to opt in or use the chat role if you're listening, or also if you're watching this live on Facebook, to also use the Facebook group to comment there besides just the chat role here, because we're excited to have you. I really enjoyed putting this presentation together for you guys on how to kind of help you plan your 2020 content for your podcast. We've got some really great stuff rocking and rolling here. And these are things that I use on a pretty regular basis as well to help me stay fresh, so fresh and so clean with my podcast, with what we have going on and other things that we're doing on a regular basis. So let's get rocking and rolling into this stuff. What do you say here? So I'm going to kind of scroll that down here. And let me pull my screen back up to get rock and roll. If this is your first time here tonight, thank you for being. As you join us and we get rock and roll, we do host these, like I said, every Wednesday night. The podcast live stream, almost weekly webinars on different podcasting and marketing subjects to help you promote, monetize, help you market your podcast or your show, or your YouTube show, whatever you may use. I call show, kind of lumping podcasting in there all together because we use video and audio as well. We'll often have, by half the time, have special guest experts talking about something that they're focused on. We'll discuss relevant niche topics every week. They are recorded, so if you want to watch it on YouTube, or you can go to youtube.com/WeCloseNotes, or you can join the Centex Podcasters Facebook group to be able to watch the replays there as well. Who is Scott Carson? I've been an active podcaster over 3 years now. I've been over 10 years as a marketer, using videos and webinars and things like that to help my audience and own my niche in my real estate side of the business, and using those tools and tricks that I've learned for the past decade to help other podcasters out there dominate their niches. I have 3 different podcasts, but my major one is the Note Closer Show podcast, which is over 500,000 downloads, 12 million plus listeners. It's syndicated nationwide, and we're also monetizing that with 6 figures on an annual basis. So got some great stuff that I'm glad to share with you guys. First of all, thank you to all those that showed up at last week's podcast live. You're talking about how to get more sponsors for your podcast. Huge turnout, lots of great questions. I think we really had a great time in communicating and talking with everybody that showed up. So if you're watching this and you have some questions, don't worry. I may just open it up and bring you on live to help coach you through the problem that you're facing with a calendar. But first and foremost, I got to give a big shout out to our podcast sponsor, the Podcast Business Journal. Check him out. Ed Ryan does an amazing job over there. Lots of great content, lots of great subjects that can come to your inbox on a daily basis. And he's just got an amazing amount of podcasters doing amazing things over at podcastbusinessjournal.com. So thanks to them for being a sponsor of the Podcasters live stream. So anyway, let's dive into the topic tonight, because I think we've got some great stuff that you guys can use in your podcast, in your marketing, in your scheduling. Like, how do you come up with content? Here's some great stuff for it, because that's one of the big things I think a lot of new podcasters, people that haven't been around well, is like, how do you keep coming up with fresh content for your audience? How do you keep coming up with things? And so when it comes to planning your 2020, the new decade, you got to realize things. Yes, we're in a whole new decade, not a whole new year. So I think it's important to come with something cool, because as they say, hindsight is always 2020. Well, foresight now is all 2020 is the way I say it, is out there. Okay. And I honestly think you've got to start thinking differently when you come to marketing. You start planning more things out to beat the competition out there. Because let's face it, depending on what niche your podcast is in, the more you can pre-plan, the more you can plan things out, the better off you're going to be and draw more earballs and eyeballs if you're video and audio, okay? Not only does it add value, it adds a tremendous amount of value when you're pre-planning, but it also gives you a true plan, and it also helps your audience with listening and how to tune back in for upcoming segments, upcoming episodes. And that's half of what we have to do, I think, as podcasters, is realize that we're communicating with our audience, and we have to train our audience to do what we want them to do, whether it's listening and showing up by subscribing and asking them to do things. But it's also, I think, really good if you got some things that are coming up to prepare your audience for upcoming segments so they know what to look for. It also gives you an opportunity to plan for future guests if you guys are bringing guests on. Obviously, content. If you're doing a season aspect of things, like doing a 13-week season or 6-week season, that's also a great thing because it helps you kind of plan for that on who you have on and the episodes that you release. one of the big things I know a lot of people have done in the past, and more people are looking to get back into, is doing live event recordings. So more that you can plan those things out, especially if they're not local. Plan them out in different areas, the better off you'll have and the more attendance you'll have. And then also when you start looking at the conference and expo schedule, I know a lot of people are going to different events. We'll cover some of the major ones here tonight, but there's a ton of them that I didn't even have room for. But I think if you start pre-planning what you're going to attend, we all want to maximize our marketing budgets, and travel costs and conference tickets and things like that can be quite costly. And so you want to make sure and maximize the biggest bang for your buck when you're putting into your show, especially if you don't have sponsors. If you do, you still want to maximize so you have the most amount of profits too when you're running like a business. And then more importantly, more than anything else, it's important to keep the content fresh. Doing the same old everything, people get tired of listening to it, and you need to shake it up. Shake it up, Betty, and get rocking and rolling with what you do. I think 2020 is going to be a huge year for podcasters that really do an amazing thing of pre-planning. Even just a little bit, it'll put you heads and tails above. If you just do a little bit, a little 5% extra, it'll go a long way in getting you rocking and rolling. Okay, so let's start with the big rocks. So we talked about this just a second ago. Start with the big rocks. And I think the big rocks, the best way to learn, to network with other people is the convention side of things. Now, I'm just throwing some bigger ones out there. I'm not saying to attend them all. But if you can, attend 1, 2, maybe 3. Maybe do it on a quarterly basis. Maybe you're doing something local. So the one that we already have circled on the calendar is PodFest. It's in Orlando at the Marriott International Hotel. Big event, probably be 1,000 people there this year. That one's March 6th through the 8th. You can go to podfest.com and get your tickets there. Another big one is different. This is Podcast Movement. It's always in a big event. They were in, oh my gosh, where were they last year? We flew there. We spent some time there. It was Philadelphia, and then they were recently in Orlando. So last year's. Now what Jared is doing is he's splitting PodFest up into 2 events. You have Podcast Movement Evolutions taking place in LA in February. And then you also have the Big Daddy, the big Podcast Movement 2020 taking place in Dallas in our backyard. Yep, got it highlighted because I'll be attending that one, August 5th through the 8th. And the thing is why I put the dates on there, you want to go ahead and start marking your calendar where you're going to be, where you're not going to be, so you can plan around other things. The more you can be forward thinking and pre-planning, it'll allow you to do some good stuff. Now, there's also the big event in San Diego every year that we've gone to for the last 5 or 6 called Traffic and Conversion Summit, taking place downtown at the actual San Diego Conference Center this year, where they host PodCon. March 31st, April 2nd, and they'll probably have around 6,000 to 8,000 people there. And I know they are doing a big track when it comes to podcasting this year. Got a little bit of an insight on some things that they're rocking and rolling, so we're pretty excited about that going on. Then you also have some of the small ones. You have the Independent Podcast Summit, or what was known as the Mid-Atlantic. It looks like they just changed their name recently. This is going to be taking place in Philadelphia this year, September 24th through the 26th. FinCon, which is a big financial conference for podcasters, is taking place in Long Beach in September 30th, October 3rd. VidCon, if you're a big YouTuber, video is a big thing. This is taking place in Anaheim, June 17th to the 30th. Now, I know some people that go to each and every one of these. That's a lot of money in travel. I would pick out 1, 2, maybe 3 if you've got it in your budget and go from there. If you're looking for something to be a little bit more budget, we don't have to worry about travel. We actually are launching our own in January, the end of January, 24th through the 26th, Mass Media Podcast Summit. It's going to be here in Austin, Texas, but we're doing it online. So I've already talked with quite a few speakers who are really some big, heavy stick swingers who are going to be involved with it. So we're really excited about that. Stay tuned for more information as we get that out and rock and roll. But finalized the date just a few minutes ago, January 24th through the 26th with some of our speakers. And I'm really excited about this, kind of a new thing. As far as I know, it's the only true online event where you can still be. Don't get me wrong, there are people that are giving you online access, but it's not a true online convention where you're just watching the replays of the thing. Of course, one thing to keep in mind is South by Southwest in Austin. That's always a big conference that takes place March 13th to the 22nd. Last year, we did a podcasting meetup during that week, and it was at 80+ people. And then, of course, the big one, and we don't know the final date yet, is the She Podcast Atlanta. That was just in October recently. They haven't finalized a date for the next one in 2020, but that was an amazing event with 700+ people in Atlanta. Then there's others like FlynnCon and a whole bunch of other ones out there as well. So take a look at the event calendar. Maybe you pick a couple out, something's in your backyard. Hey, go to that. If it's something that's maybe a bigger event you've not gone to, look at it and see, hey, can you do two things with it? When I look at a big convention like this, I want to try to double, triple my bang for the buck. So like what I've done is when I've been in an event, like when I was out in Orlando a couple years ago, I booked another speaking engagement at a local investment club. When I was also in San Diego for an event a few years back, I booked a meetup group where I hosted a note closers show event for the night and was able to bring in about 30 people. And it was really, anytime you can double book some things or see if there's another meetup group, oftentimes they'll have a podcasting meetup around these events. So it's kind of a good thing to take a look at when you can do 2 or 3 things at once, whether it's just showing up or hosting your own event. So other things to look at. I don't know what niche you're at, but we all have different niches that we have with our podcast that we kind of fall in. So take a look at other smaller local conferences for your niche. Like the Gamers Conference would be a big one for those that are gamers out there. If you're a wellness coach or a health coach or physical fitness or something like that, there's other things that are going on. In my note business, there's a big conference in November. It was just a couple weeks ago. Another one in March. There's another one in April in Vegas. Those are other smaller conferences that you may want to take a look at for your niche as well. All right. Don't know one? Ask. Hey, let's do a Google search. There's things out there. Who do you go to? What conference are you going to? Meetup groups. This is, I think, forgetful quite a bit. I mean, we host that meetup group. We have the Centex Podcasters meetup group that we have that run. There's actually a bigger following in there than it does in the Facebook group. But meetup groups are great. If you're traveling in an area, look to see if there's a podcast event, like the Florida Podcasters Association. Not only do they have a large Facebook group, they also have a pretty good-sized meetup group. There's a big group in Chicago. So if you're going to different places, take a look and see if there's other groups that are meeting around the same time, or many of these groups will allow you to post and join the meetup group online, meetup.com, for free. And then you remember, hey, I'm coming to the area and we want to get together for lunch or coffee or network, or hang out. Often is a great thing to do. Meetup.com, used it for years to book speaking events and also identify other groups to speak at. If you're looking to speak more with your podcast, or maybe do a guest podcast episode, maybe reach out to the meetup groups ahead of time and say, hey, I'd like to come to your area. You got a niche. Can I come in and do a live podcast recording either before, during, or maybe even after the event? When I've spoken at investment clubs, often the next morning, I might bring on the host of the investment club and him as my special guest to talk about the market, and it becomes a really popular episode. We get a few people that show up, and then it comes up like a mini live event for some things. So it gives you a little bit more of a touch one-on-one, and it also helps you expand your listener reach and audiences as well out there, okay? Any questions so far about some of these things as well out there? Networking events are obviously, there's oftentimes different networking events. Like we've talked, we've been going out to some of the different BNI groups locally here in Austin the last couple of weeks. There's been some good stuff to expand our audience. People are asking about our podcast. There's also different networking events taking place all the time. Like Houston, if you're in the real estate stuff, they have real estate meetups. If you get a real estate podcast, that's where I would be out networking. I've gone to Dallas for events. I've gone to Florida for events. I've gone to, all over the place. Look for different events that are taking place in your niche, or maybe not quite in your niche. Maybe it's a parallel thing, okay? Like I've spoken at the National Association of Realtors Conference. That was a good thing, and that's also helped us get listeners to our podcast, okay? So I think doing a live recording even at the convention is a good thing. Sometimes you can get the speakers to be a part of it, like our good friend Merrill Chandler, who runs the Funding Hackers podcast, was just at the FICO convention they host every 18 months in New York. And with his podcast, he was not only in the audience, but he actually was able to grab 3 or 4 of the speakers or the panelists to get them on his podcast and record them while he was there. So that's a good thing, whether you're interviewing guests. And you know what? Sometimes if you're going to an event, maybe reach out to the person or the people that are running the event and see if they have a media pass. And we'll give you a booth for your podcast if you interviewed some of the people speaking about the event. This is something that can be a very valuable thing for some of the different large expos, okay? Kind of a cool thing. Plus, if you've got, it could be a great thing for you to do. If you're going to be at the event, maybe you have a database of people in that area. Let them know, hey, I'm going to be at this event. And so oftentimes you can work out or negotiate a discount or even a free ticket pass for maybe your listeners if you're going to market those out to the events. Like, hey, I'm going to be at the REI Expo in 2 weeks. If you're a listener, boom, use the code REI Expo or REI Scott to get half off or get your free ticket and come by and see me at booth 20. Now, those are some great things to do. Like Steph, one of the things that Stephanie's doing with her Fur Babies podcast this year is exactly that. There's the Popcats convention taking place here in Austin, and she's already reached out to be about being a media sponsor and then also having a booth there and interviewing people that are going to be there. So it's a great thing about she's looking at doing in this new year as well. We've talked about live recordings about meetups. I talked about that briefly a minute ago. If you're meeting up or networking, going to your local event, maybe you talk to, maybe if you're not speaking, but maybe the speaker is interested, great way to add them to your schedule to have them in as a guest interview or vice versa. It allows for them like, oh, I appeared on a podcast. I was able to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Okay. Another thing you could do, you could look at hosting your own summit if you wanted to, and doing this either in person or online. Now, I know like we've done our media mastermind events before in person in Orlando. We're doing one here in Austin in a few weeks. But we've also do another thing called Note Camp, which is one of the podcasts that I run. We do an online summit 2-3 times a year called Note Camp, 30 to 35 speakers. We do it live and online, and we take this take that and turn it into its own special podcast, which alone has another 80,000 downloads, surprisingly. But those are things you can do. And a great way to build camaraderie and build an audience and build your way in an area is to invite people that you would like to speak on their stage. Hey, would you like to speak at Note Camp is what I've asked. And they've had me turn around and had me speak in their conferences. And it's a great way building camaraderie. It also builds you doing some marketing. They like that because they don't have to do all the marketing and vice versa. And it helps you grow each other's audience dramatically going forward. Okay. If you want more information about a summit or helping out with that, feel free, drop me an email at scott@WeCloseNotes or message me on Facebook, and I'll be glad to spend some time with you and go through there with you. But I know people that are doing their own mini summits, like 1 hour long summits on Instagram, like we've had our buddy Adam Scheibel talk about before, or they're doing a 1-day summit. We'll get to some of those things as well here. So other important dates to look at that can help you with your planning of your schedule for 2020 and your content. Look at the important holidays. Obviously, what do we have coming up? We got Thanksgiving, we got Christmas, we got New Year's, we got Hanukkah. If one of your audiences has an important holiday or your audience listens to it, hey, maybe you create a special episode just around that. But the important thing is to book that out. Like I give you an example, Thanksgiving is a week away. If you're going to be recording and it takes you a week of production, you might want to record your Halloween or your Thanksgiving episode quickly and put it away. One of the things that I did is say, hey, we had a very scary deal thing. So we did an episode that came out on Halloween about scary deals. And we also had it go out in our radio network on Halloween there as well. If you're in the marketing aspect, like we all are, marketing and media, you have the International Social Media Day. That's June 30th. This year, that's on a Tuesday. The last couple of years, we really celebrated. We got it approved here in Austin by my friends, Christy and Elijah Whites. 3 years ago, they did a live stream for 8 hours through a digital marketer in town. I was one of the speakers and sponsors. 2 years ago, we did a 27-hour live stream that resulted in over 150,000 views on Facebook with over 30 speakers in 15 different countries talking about social media. That was a big thing that we did. So we're excited about that. June 30th this year falls on a Tuesday, so I might want to mark your calendar as something cool to do during that day. You don't have to do something big like a 27-hour live stream, but maybe you do something for an hour. Maybe you do for something too. Maybe you just send up to do periodic posts throughout the day that you can blast out. Another important one for us podcasters is the International Podcast Day, September 30th. This has been around for just a few years, but the last 2 years I've been involved with another live stream. 2 years ago, did a 12-hour live stream with roughly 24 podcasters. That was great, really helped me grow my audience and grow some of my friends in the podcasting industry. This year, I was in the middle I had something going on. So what did I have going on September 30th? Oh, I was in the middle of another mastermind event that day. And while I was able to jump in and do it, some of my friends ran with it. But this next year, we're doing some other things. So that's the thing. That's on a Wednesday, Hump Day, International Podcast Day. Okay. And like you can see, this is the thing from 2 years ago where we had 24 podcasters and I took their headshots and their artwork, and that was some of the fun things that we did interviewing them and talking about their show and other things like that. You can also celebrate international days, like International Margarita Day, International or National Taco Day. I think it's a really great thing. I mean, there's so many. There's 300. There's over 400, 500 of these national days out there. When you look at that calendar, it's available. Some days have 3 days. Some days it's 2 days. Sometimes or 2 holidays or 2 names of holidays. So if you look at the calendar, you may be able to find a big chunk of them that fall into your focus and be a good way for you to do an episode to add to the calendar or to market for other things out there. You could, like I said, market to social media. That's a great thing to do. Like International Women's Day. We used this last year to market going to our workshop because our International Women's Day was falling right around the same time that we had our note camp thing. You could also do celebrations, important if you think you're going to hit like 500 download or 5,000 downloads or your 500th episode. I like doing movie releases, and this is a fun thing that I've done in the past that's worked out really, really well, is I'll look at what's going to be released in 2020. And we all know there's big movies that are coming out here over the holidays. The next one being the big Star Wars one, right? Well, what's been big over the last few years? The Marvel thing. So back in 2016 when Marvel Civil War's coming out, we did a very similar thing. My buddy Fuquan Bilal and I, we decided to do a webinar roughly that same weekend that it came out, opening night. And on May 16, 2016 was the launch of that. So we changed it from Marvel Civil War. We changed it to the Note Civil War Default America. We just changed things up. But that was the largest webinar I've ever had. Over 700 registrants for it, for a webinar where Fuquan and I just went back and forth about his niche and what he does and compared to my niche in the note business. So it was kind of a fun thing. Obviously, you can also create swag surrounded by your stuff. We've done this before by sending out, Note Civil War T-shirts, or we've even done like the Note Wars thing. We've done T-shirts that have been popular with our members. We do have a membership area, so it helped us with swag. Is that we send T-shirts out that kind of felt like we did the whole game of notes around Game of Thrones thing this year. We'll do Note Wars of the last Note Walker instead of the last Skywalker here in December around Christmas. So those are some fun things that you can just Google in, 2020 big movie releases, and it'll show you kind of when they're estimated to release and some of the things. We've got a big one in my note business called The Banker is coming out that we're really excited about with Samuel L. Jackson and oh my gosh, another guy from Marvel. I can't even think of his name. But anyway, we're doing a big thing on that with a big release and talking about some of this stuff. So those are some cool things that you can plan into your calendar. You start looking, start pre-planning, start looking and doing some cool marketing around those events and go from there. All right. Now, when you're looking at creating your calendar content, obviously there's 365 days in a year. So you have to kind of look at, take it back. How often are you recording episodes? And more importantly, how many episodes are you releasing? What's the schedule for that? Are you releasing every Tuesday, every day? Are you doing it as you get around to it? The more planned out you can be, the better off it'll be for you. You may record a bunch of episodes that get released relatively quickly, and may others that you just hold back as you fit in things around your calendar schedule. Now, I'm reaching out. I have people on my podcast, and we're recording 3 to 5, sometimes 3 to 6 episodes a week. Like I recorded one just beforehand. I'll record 2 tomorrow. Some of those will go out immediately. Other of those it'll take 3 weeks for them to come out. So you need to keep that in mind. How often are you recording and releasing? So you can plan that into your schedule. And then also the most important thing is make sure you consider your production time frames. Like if I upload an episode into my production staff, it takes them 6 to 7 days to get it out. Okay, so I got to make sure and keep that in mind when I'm posting and recording things. Sometimes I'll record them live, especially like if I was doing a Thanksgiving one, it would take 7 days for them to get it out. So if I recorded the Thanksgiving episode, I'd have to record it today and get it uploaded so it goes live on Thursday, Thanksgiving. Okay, now some of you guys are doing seasons or series. You've kind of broken the year up into different things for a variety of reasons, and that's great. There's nothing wrong to that. I honestly think it's something that we're looking at too is, we're going to break the year up into basically 4 quarters, the quarter 1, quarter 2, quarter 3, quarter 4 with one of our podcasts. What's our focus during that quarter, or even focus during that month if you're doing a lot of episodes? Monthly, it might be, hey, we're focused on this niche, or we're really pushing towards this. Some of you maybe have a charity, or maybe like right now it's No Pod Promo Month or something like that, National Promote Your Podcast Month. It's a big thing. People are doing daily episodes, okay? I've got a friend, JJ Fissanes, who was doing an episode basically 7 days a week, and then eventually each a different topic of the 7 days, and eventually those sprung off into 7 different podcasts, okay? So keep that in mind. If you're doing a fictional series, are you doing it for 12 weeks or 10 weeks? Are you releasing one episode like a Netflix show, something like that? Keep that in mind and look at your calendar to break it down. Maybe it's 90 days. Maybe it's 120 days. Maybe it's 60 days. Maybe it's just 30 days. I don't know. Whatever you do, pre-plan your marketing out so that you know, okay, we're going to film these days. We're going to film this day. Mark your calendar. Get it rock and rolling. And then one of the great things you can do is that you have the stuff kind of identified. Now you pre-plan your promotions, maybe even your sponsors for a special series. If you're doing a special series, I don't know, on maybe you're a realtor doing a special promotion to get refinanced, that would be a great time to reach out to your sponsors like a mortgage broker or a title company to have them come in and sponsor that series for you. Or talking about saving more, maybe in real estate, getting a self-directed IRA company to sponsor that quarterly thing. All sorts of great things, especially if you have some big guests coming up. Those are some quality things that you think might be valuable to have sponsored. Hey, you want to be a sponsor for this episode as we are interviewing Captain Kirk this month or something like that, okay? It's also a great way to have contests going. My friend, Sharon Wolf, she does a great thing with contests on a 30 and 90-day basis. Different things, okay? And those contests run, so it helps boost activity. It also boosts other things like reviews, comments, people sharing, all sorts of great things that you can do with contests. A couple years ago, when the newest Star Trek movie was coming out, we did the whole Note Trek thing, and we had all these different promotions promoting those Monday night webinars as we were doing. It was over a month-long thing, so we were doing 4 webinars, and that whole month thing was just on. That was a Star Trek theme. Okay, and we twisted everything to kind of fall into that thing. It was really popular. People really loved it, and we had some cool. Not only do we have a high attendance ratio, high show up ratio, but also high activity. People actually took what we did and ran with it. So something to think about for you guys. Or anybody of you guys that are watching right now, any of you guys have special things that you do? How are you doing your show? Is it a series? Is it a segment? If it's just a willy-nilly, twice a week, once a month, once a day? I'd love to hear from you guys that are watching. How often are you doing episodes? How often are you coming out with episodes? Michelle, Sharon, Tashi, Valerie. Tashi, I think we talked last week. You were doing stuff weekly. Stephanie's doing it as she gets around to it, which is A-okay. A lot of times it works for a lot of us as we get around to it. Totally makes sense, okay? But you think about that, like if you've got, give me an example, like a Halloween, we'll just use as an example, Halloween is a big one for a lot of people. It's a favorite holiday. If you're running a pet podcast, you could do, about the myths of black cats, okay? The New Year, puppies for Christmas, a movie coming out like 101 Dalmatians and why that's a good thing or a bad thing, or Riding in Cars is a great movie about a dog or a dog's life. Maybe you do the top 10 pet movies, or you do something around that to help promote your podcast. Some great things that you could do out there. Movie releases. I think we talked about that last week, looking at the upcoming movie releases and helping maybe try to pre-schedule some of your guests that maybe were actors or producers or directors in some of those movies. Okay. All sorts of great things you can do. You just got to know what's on the calendar. And this is about being offensive, going out and looking versus being reactive and defensive. Oh my God, it's something on and really hustling. The more you can plan out, the easier life is going to be and the more effective you're going to be, okay? Now, there's some helpful tools to help you with that scheduling and help you with that pre-planning. Now, I think the biggest one is Calendly.com. This is an important thing, especially if you record on the same times each day or same day each week, where you spread it all out. If you do it on a daily basis, use Calendly, give your guests some opportunity. You may want to go and just, like with these Wednesday night webinars, when I'm going to do a topic, I take I book myself in the Calendly. When it's going to be somebody else, they're booked in there. But the Calendly tool is such great because it allows you to time block things. Well, I know I have this every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. or I know I'm doing a podcast episode, usually most days Monday through Thursday, or Tuesday through Thursday for sure, at 11 a.m. or 12 a.m. or 12 noon, I should say. It also is an effective thing to get your guest bio, their links. That way you can use that with your social media if you're tagging them or posting in different places. It's an easiest way to have it all in one spot. Like I've got my friend Rhonda Britton going to come on the podcast in a couple of weeks here next month. I'm the award-winning life coach, okay? Amazing story. I got her headshot. I've got her whole bio all in one spot. And I just sent her an email. I was in her email blast, and I said, oh, hey, and I sent her a quick email. I said, hey, I'd love to have you on my podcast again. I said, hey, here's a link. Well, she went ahead and filled it all out. Suddenly I know she's booked. I'm like, perfect. No response. She's busy. I'm busy. We got everything we need in one spot versus me having to try to hunt and peck. Okay. Using some sort of social media scheduling thing. Buffer.com is what we use. Hootsuite.com is another free thing you can use. There's another expensive one if you're doing this for multiple accounts. Sprout Social you might want to look at. This allows you to pre-schedule postings several weeks out. You can book throughout the day. I think it's important if you've got a catalog of back episodes that maybe you go in and pre-schedule, hey, throwback Tuesday or throwback Thursday to this episode we did a year ago or this episode we did 6 months ago, okay? Or as things come out, like when the new Marvel movie, maybe I should go back and say, hey, here's a throwback to the episode that we did on the Civil War and the difference between first and seconds, okay? It's a great way to also, if you're doing an event or going to an event, that you do some episode promotion. Like one of the things I did before going to Traffic Conversion 2 years ago, I talked about how I was going there and did some fun promotion to post there. Well, they actually pulled those images and posted them in their email newsletter that went out. So I was actually featured in the newsletter just for being kind of stupid and silly, okay? I also like using the quotes from episodes. My production company creates these ego bait quotes for people. And they've got a Dropbox file folder. I was like, oh my God, we're not posting these. We send these to our guests to post, but they don't always post. I was like, this works really good for us to go back in and post in Instagram or Facebook. So I dropped them all into Facebook as its own, photo kind of grid, photo album. And then I'm taking those, 3 at a time and organize them on my, and the No Closer Show Instagram thing, so it looks really nice with different quotes and tagging people into it, and then also sharing that as well to LinkedIn. And just doing, hey, check out the previous episode from 219 or 321. I can pre-schedule those things to go out as well, and that's one thing you should look at doing. You may not be able to pre-schedule future episodes if you don't know the links, but sometimes you can. If you know what's going on, you're handling it, and you've got a 24 or 48-hour time frame where you have the links that are pre-done, then you can pre-schedule and send that stuff out. Some smart tools that are really good. You got to use a CRM tool, some sort, to send out to your database. MailChimp is an easy one to use. HubSpot is also pretty good. Keep or Infusionsoft is going to cost you some money to do some things. MailChimp will cost you if you start getting over a specific amount. But sending stuff out to your database of what you got going on the podcast, I think this is a big thing that most podcasters don't do, and it would help out. Anytime we've done it, it's helped our downloads for the month. And I have to get in the habit of doing this. I think one of the things we're doing is basically a Friday wrap up, doing it on a Friday afternoon out to our listeners, to our database, with a weekly update. Hey, here's what did you catch these episodes that we released this week? Hey, here's some upcoming events, or here's upcoming guests that you may want to schedule for. Okay. Another free tool is Eventbrite. Now, why would I talk about Eventbrite? Well, one of the things that we have done is Eventbrite will allow you to schedule, I think, up to 17 events. So if you're doing, like we do a Monday night webinar every Monday night for the most part, I was able to pre-schedule 17 of those events, so it automatically showed up. And then it's a similar event. So I shared that in different cities, Dallas, like our top 10 cities that we have most in. So organically, it's finding people in that area, like what events are going on this week, and they're like, oh, there's a podcast, or there's a webinar and the real estate thing. I want to check it out. And so it led to people opting in organically. Plus, Eventbrite will connect to your Facebook events page, and it can automatically set up a Facebook event inside of Facebook from your Eventbrite thing. It's pretty cool. This is a cool thing too that you can do is maybe as you have your Calendly people getting booked, going in, finding a good headshot that they use, and pre-promoting, hey, that they're coming on as a guest to your podcast, and promoting that to either your Facebook page for your podcast or your business or your personal page. This helps get some insighting, especially if you're going to live stream it or say, hey, I'm recording today. Check out the episode that I just did with Roland Frazier from Business Lunch, or that I just did with Stephanie Goodman from the Fur Babies podcast. Okay. This helps get a little bit of momentum going. It also allows people to say, oh, hey, here's great. It also allows you something to go back and, hey, if you missed joining us live, here's the replay. Okay. If you want to do it live, great. If not, you can always record the episode like with Zoom like this and go back and use Restream to rebroadcast it out so it looks like it's a live event. Okay. You may also want to check in local areas, community calendars. If you got I'll give you an example. See what kind of I'll give you an example. Sporting events. My buddy John Largent is going to be doing a sporting podcast convention in Orlando next year. So it'd do very well of him to find out what kind of sports leagues or other events are going on and posting that, hey, if you're a sports podcast, you may want to check this out and join us here. Different calendars that you see. You can go to Starbucks and they've always got calendars there, or any of the other places across. Like I go to Juice Lane every day and there's a big board of all these flyers of different events that are going on. Message boards. We talked briefly about meetup groups. You may want to check my next door app, maybe posting in there if it's something that's close to what you've got going on. Okay. Of course, local Facebook groups are a great thing, especially if they're niche to what you do, along with LinkedIn groups. I forgot to put LinkedIn here. All this stuff is basically free except for the email CRM tool for the most part. But these are things you should be doing. I know it seems like a lot of work, but if you start pre-planning out, you're going to do an event in 6 months, put it on the event calendar, start promoting to it. That's the thing is what I finish up here tonight, tomorrow, there'll be a calendar thing. We created an event for the Mass Media Podcast Day for the weekend of January 24th through the 26th. Okay. And that's going to create a Facebook group. And we're going to post that to different community podcasting conference calendars and different meetup groups. So it's a great way to drive a lot of easy and warm traffic to your podcast or your show or your YouTube video, whatever it might be. Okay. But most importantly, if a lot of these tools stress you out, like I'm not the smartest person in the world when it comes to posting, I get that. I understand that. So just start with something. And by something, go on to Amazon.com tonight or go on to Office Depot and order you a freaking wall calendar. It's not that difficult. Pretty easy to do. I've got a couple here. I've got my 2019 yearly calendar and I got my 2020 right below it. Stuff's already getting filled in. Start filling it in. Okay. You don't have to pre-schedule things out. Maybe you just start marketing things off the calendar. Maybe you're using 3M stickies to share. Start with something. If you don't like where it's the horizontal months like that, then guess what? Switch it up and do the vertical quarters like that. That would make it really easy for spreading the year out into four sections for you to basically, okay, here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. Here's what we're going to do. And you could literally, I'm recording every Monday at 7 p.m. Well, you could literally just draw a line down there and take a look at the calendar schedule. And we're going to do every Thursday. All right, we're going to drop it down and do it like that. What I'm trying to get at, people, is it doesn't have to be anything complicated. You could use the things that are going on and still mark your calendar up and then say, okay, we got the bankers coming out the end of November. It means we need to have an episode coming, or we have the new Marvel coming out. We got the new Captain Marvel movie or the Black Widow movie coming out. For those that do comics or games or stuff like that, that would be a good time to circle and say, okay, this month is all about, maybe you only have 4 episodes in a month if you do it once a week. Well, we got the Black Widow. This is the month of Black Widow. And that could be kind of the thing you dedicate to that you're doing as well. Or you got wellness months. There's all sorts of things that you can do. And put it on a calendar. It's pretty simple. But the idea of tonight's call and pre-planning is just help you kind of plan some things out and also, hey, set some goals for 2020. I look at my numbers on a monthly basis. I track it. I know what I want to accomplish this year and what I want to accomplish next year with goals. Consistency is the biggest key. I'm great at recording things. I'm not always consistent at getting them uploaded so they go out on a regular basis. On the months I have, numbers have excelled. When I have it, numbers have dropped down a little bit, but we've done a really good job when we're not releasing new episodes of going back and resharing older episodes or throwback episodes. Okay. Take a look at your 2020 to 2019, and I'll show you what we kind of do to kind of track things so I can see how we're going, if we're growing or not growing. Pretty simple, not difficult at all to do. A couple things that we're doing that we did last year is we're going to do a post on the top 10 episodes, most downloaded episodes of 2018. We did the first year. This year, I'll go back and change that post. Hey, what are the top 10 episodes of 2019? What are the top 10 guests that we had on? What episodes had the top 10 downloads and top 10 guests who were part of those? And I'm going to give some recognition to those guys and gals, okay? But most importantly, track your numbers. It can be a very simple spreadsheet. Hell, half the time when the first year was doing, I was just writing the numbers on the end of the month. Oh, we had 25,000 or we had 6,000 downloads this month. So I can see that. An important thing too, I know we're covering some things here. One of the most important things I think we can all do as entrepreneurs is to recharge our batteries. So look at your calendar and put some vacation time in there. Don't just draw it. Go ahead and schedule it. Okay? And then do yourself a favor. It's pretty easy to record either during that couple days or that week or however long you're gone. Use back episodes. Hey, we're going to do a week of throwback. We're taking some time off. And it's okay to take the time off. I was listening last night to Last Week Tonight and John Oliver for his Sunday episode. He's like, hey, this is the last episode of the year. So we'll see you in 2020. Great. Share it. Hey, here's the back episodes. Here's some reruns. What we've done before when we've taken trips is I recorded 15 episodes and I had those episodes go live via video, and then they also got released, so it looked like I was still in town. Didn't take away from any of our listeners, and it turned out to be a good thing. 2 years ago, when I was gone, I actually had some guests come on as guest hosts, took over the show for a couple of weeks, and they really liked that. Our audiences like that because it's a fresh spin on topics and content as well there for you. So best thing, guys, you can do is start planning. If you've struggled this year with consistency, you've struggled getting people on, struggled getting episodes, do yourself a favor, look at the calendar and book a day that you do things. Maybe once a week, book a day. I got to get an episode out. I got to get an episode recorded. I'm not just talking about me. I'm talking about other people that are here watching this or listening to this. Pre-record the best you can. Pre something. So pre-plan anything. Questions. I wanted to share something here. Let me do this. There is a, let's see here. Where is it here? So if you look here, like if you type in nationaldaycalendar.com, National Day Calendar will show you all these, and like you can see this, like January 1st is New Year's Day, National Bloody Mary Day, National Hangover Day, National Buffet Day, January 2nd, National Fruitcake Toss Day. You got this for every month. You could go on here and start looking at some, see which ones you want to do, okay? Seed Swap Day, whatever it might be, Irish Coffee Day, Green Juice Day, Peanut Brittle Day, National Spouses Day, all sorts of good things you can go there. So that's where I would go, nationaldaycalendar.com/the-month/, okay? So a comment here. Question? We're all guilty of, Stephanie, of getting sidetracked or drifting. I know that Outwitting the Devil is one of your favorite books. Just make it a priority. Focus on it. You've got such a great thing you're doing with the Fur Babies podcast and some great options and so many things that are rooting for you. It's just that you have to spend time and focus on it and make it a priority. If you don't make it a priority, nobody else can make it a priority. You know what I mean? Okay? Hey, we know you always appreciate the sport. Exactly. So let's plan on it. Let's talk about that. All right? Cool. But anyway, this is the National Day Calendar stuff we talked about there. And then I also want to share one other thing with you. Oops. I'll share my numbers that we look at. Oops, that's not it. Where is it? Oh, I have it open. All right, so let me share this. Nope, that's not what I want. All right, so you guys should see my webinar and podcast numbers. So like one of the things I do, podcast numbers every month, I track. Going back to August 2017, the number of downloads for that month. August was not only a partial month. So I really track my numbers. Can you see that okay? I'm seeing on the screens a different spreadsheet you have here. So new share. That's probably better. you were probably looking at my BNI calendar, which is totally fine. All right. There we go. So going back to, I track every month, number of downloads, if we're up or down, percentage change, the average, running average of a full month. So like we average 17,304 downloads. If that's up, down, average year over year, since we had the full year, we're in our start of our third year. So I can look at the stuff, how it compared to the year over year. I can look at unique number of downloads, which is important. Unique downloads, not just downloads, but unique individuals. So we average, this is the thing that kind of cracks me up. I had our largest month last month in unique, sorry, not our largest, but our third largest in unique downloads. So that's the numbers I look at. If I can make sure I'm bust the number of it as far as the average, I'm happy. Like we've already beaten, we're right at the cusp of 17,000 downloads already. We still got 10 days left in the month, okay? And that's the thing I look at. Increases, I look at the total number of countries, we're up to 94 countries. That's a great thing. You know, I look at the other podcasts. I have Note Night in America and how those rank. There's a little bit smaller. Note Camp is up to 81,000 downloads. Note Night in America is roughly about 26 that I do. I was doing once a month this year, and I go back to doing it weekly again. Same thing, downloads. I look at how our views on videos are doing. So we average basically getting roughly, what's that, 30,000 on average a month views across Vimeo and YouTube. And our subscribers, we're getting, on average this year alone, subscribers are a big thing for me on YouTube. We're averaging 130, basically, what is that, 4 a day, roughly? Divide that by 30, 4 subscribers a day. And then minutes watched. So I'm always tracking my numbers. I also track the numbers on my radio stations. And then I also track, okay, what they did, what was the hits, what do we do for the month? And then I'll also keep track, okay, what episode, what guest was on there, what podcast did I put on that day to get those amount of numbers. And you see, I've already got stuff already that was sent out through Thursday. I got to send them episodes next week, and I'll have a couple focused on Thanksgiving for us. So I keep track of that stuff. And it helps me out. It just helps me see everything. Where are the numbers coming? How are we doing? That's what it comes down to more than anything else, is that I track that so I can pre-plan better. What topics do well? What did other things? Like the things that I look back, I need to probably do at least one webinar or one podcast on raising capital a month. I need to probably look at what holidays are coming up and pre-plan around those a little bit better. Okay. So appreciate you guys that are watching. I see we got Ricardo that's watching online, Adrienne Fulton Hudner. Hey, great to see you, Adrienne. Join us here. And then also those that are on here. What question? Anybody want to jump on here and have any scheduling questions they want to dive into? I know some of you guys that joined us late and missed some things. I think the most important thing is taking your calendar and look at where you want to be. What do you want to accomplish? For me in 2020, one thing I want to be is back out doing more events, where I'm speaking at more events, local events, whether it's a RIA or a conference or just showing up and hanging out and networking with people in our markets that are across the country. Anybody have questions? Michelle, Sharon, Stephanie, Tashi, Valerie, Ricardo, Adriana. Questions for anybody? Karen? Got a question here. Do you have a good suggestion? So, Steph, what I would do with you, pulling guests. Okay. Here's what I think would be the good one for you to pull in guests. Is figure out what conferences, and you could do this without actually going to an event. Okay? Most of these conferences that you want to go to or events will show who's speaking at those events. That would be the first thing. All right? And then most of them will have their contact information. Either you can contact them on LinkedIn or Facebook page and just reach out to them. Say, hey, I see you're speaking at Social Media Marketing World is another one I forgot to leave off of there. Or speaking at PodFest. Or I saw you speak at PodFest. I would love to have you speak on my podcast or to interview on my podcast. And send that and just include your calendar link. All right. Oh, hey, saw that you were at Popcats. All right. So like Steph, there was a veterinarian that spoke about declawing cats and how harmful it is that I watched while you were walking around. Okay. Let's see here. They're booked out or not sure about their schedule and want to be on, but say a podcast is still really new to them and they don't have the urgency or forget. Okay. Use it, like I said, use a calendar thing and then throw it on your schedule. And then you loved, if I remember correctly, Stephanie loves dry erase boards with calendars. Maybe you need to have a calendar where you can see like so-and-so is going to be on there. So-and-so is going to be on there. Okay. This week we're going to have this person. You just have, one of the things I do when I log in the morning, like on my computer, I put Calendly up. Hey, who's on the schedule today? I'll look at it tonight before I go. I know like I have Kim Sutton tomorrow. It's a matter of looking at what you do and then scheduling it in your Google Calendar. Maybe so it alerts you to your phone. Okay. But put it somewhere where you see it and you check it. So maybe it needs to be on your dry erase board by the TV or by your office or by your desk, wherever it does. Okay. The idea, everybody, is put it somewhere where you see it so you don't forget about it. Okay. Yeah. Well, the reason you want to make it easy is if you set up your Calendly link and they use the Calendly thing, Calendly will send them a reminder and you can set up the reminders to be either 24 hours out, an hour out, where you can send them an email and a text. So those are really great things. So yeah, my guests, they get a text message. They also get an email an hour before. They also get, an hour before and the day before, 24 hours from now. And I get reminders like that from people too. Hey, you're going to be on our podcast tomorrow. I'm like, oh crap, how did it not end up my schedule? Okay. Cool. Good questions though, Steph. Thanks for asking those. Just posting it somewhere you can see. Okay. And we know people will be busy. I was just talking to my friend Molly earlier. She's like, oh my God, we're trying to get scheduled, but she's been busy with an event and she also had a death in the family. Just recently, I'm like, whoa, don't worry about it. We'll reschedule. It's okay. Like I had somebody reach out to me that I was supposed to be on last week. I'm like, hey man, I need to reschedule. We're just so swamped. I got to drive down. I'm like, that's no problem. Same here. It works out fine for me. And I'll just jump on and book another link. And they're like, that's perfect. Thank you so much for understanding. We'll go from there. Okay. Any other questions or comments from you guys that are watching the Podcasters live stream, how to pre-plan your schedule? And we are now in the thick of the holidays too, but the holidays doesn't stop people from working. Okay. It may stop you from traveling a little bit more and avoiding crowds, but it doesn't stop you from working. So I actually find when people take off a little bit more, that they're like, oh, I want to knock something. I don't want to travel. I'd rather book some things. So like I've gotten 5 requests from people like, hey, I want to book another 20 spots before the end of the year. So yes, everybody uses the holidays but I would only say the last week up to Christmas is where we're still a good chunk out. Okay. No one wants to skip to the new year yet. Well, I've already booked one for January 2nd because I was traveling, and then they're like, oh, we'll just book you for January 2nd because they were busy. So that's something to think about as well, too. Question here. Thanks, Tashi. Appreciate it. So that's what I think, Tashi, would be great looking at the release schedule for you guys. We talked a little about this last week with you, looking at different events that are going like movie premieres or awards, like the you think about, you may not be flying to France for the Cannes Festival, maybe do an online thing about the Cannes Festival. You could maybe go to Denver or Aspen for the big one that's up there every year, or one in Hollywood or one in Florida. I know that you said you and your co-hosts are on different sides of the country. Maybe do that. But anyway, those are some great things to look at for you guys out there as well. Any other final questions before we wrap it up for the evening? I want to thank you all for being here, listening, adding. For those that are watching, always feel free to leave a comment in the comment section or shoot me a message, and we're glad to answer that as well for you. But I guess that is going to, I think, wrap it up. Will the NCS podcast have a Christmas show, a Christmas song? We will probably, in the No Close show, will probably come back, have a little bit different look after Thanksgiving. Yes, it'll be decorated in here a little bit. And then a different song or jingle. Fa la 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 la. All right. All right, everybody. Take care. Thank you again for being here. Thanks for asking questions. And we'll see you guys on the next Podcasters live stream next week.